Hiya folks, I'm Grim and welcome to Grim Grooves. Today we'll be checking out the original version of One-Winged Angel from Final Fantasy VII. I've still never heard the original version. I listened to Advent One-Winged Angel the other day for the first time, and it blew me away with how cool it was and just how well it was produced and everything like that. But a lot of you were telling me that the original version is the best version, and I do love the kind of old school sound fonts and everything of the PlayStation 1, so I'm looking forward to checking this out. I've also just started playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time on my second channel, Grim Goodnight. You can check the link in the description if you'd like to check that out. And make sure you hit the like button and subscribe, because there's so much more from Final Fantasy and so many other games coming forward you can check out. But without further ado, let's check out One-Winged Angel, the original version. Nice. This is crazy how orchestral this is, even though they were working with such simple sound fonts. I mean, the PlayStation and like just older consoles in general had such a limited range of what they could possibly do. I mean, PlayStation 1 is definitely a lot greater than like Super Nintendo, say, but it still has that same vibe of older Final Fantasy games. I mean, even though I've never played Final Fantasy VII, I have played some of the other earlier ones. Like Final Fantasy IV is one of my favorites with Cecil and the Red Wings and everything like that. And the music, this music is very nostalgic to me, even though I've never heard the song, because it has the same kind of style. I mean, Nobuo Uematsu is such a fantastic composer, and he has a certain style to his music, and you can definitely hear elements of that in this, even though, again, it's from a newer game than what I was thinking of, like the classics I'm thinking of, but still, it's really well done already. Like, and you can see kind of the difference between the two versions so strongly. Ooh, damn. There's really no reason to have the subtitles on. There's nothing there. But it's really interesting because, as you guys were saying in the comments of the last one, the lyrics are somewhat different in this version, but also the structure of the song is somewhat different. I mean, there were some parts a little earlier on that were, like, there's different moments here and there that are completely different from the version that I listened to, the Advent Children version of the song. And even this section, like, the horns coming in and the way that they are, like, the cadence of the kind of sound font that's used for PlayStation 1 has a completely different feel to it than the more orchestral arrangement that was Advent Children's version. And it's distinctly unique in the way that it's produced as well, because they had to use a more limited kind of production formula to do it. And it's just really impressive that they were able to pull off all this with the PlayStation 1 technology. I mean, not that there's no great PlayStation 1 songs, there certainly are, but this is just wholly unique in the style of how it was made and everything like that. It's really impressive. See, even sections like this are completely different from what you heard in the original or in the other version. I keep wanting to say the original, it's just the first one I heard, but I know Advent Children is a completely different thing entirely to the original Final Fantasy VII, and it feels different as well. I mean, the way that the sound font works is like it makes everything kind of 8-bit, 16-bit, like that kind of vibe. Obviously, it's not 8, but anyways, it's still very unique to that specific sound style. And it's really impressive that they not only that they were able to pull off so many different things, but each individual element sounds so unique, even though it's again using such a simple kind of sound font to do it. Like the kind of horn sections that come out in here and there, there's like strings that very unique kind of sounding strings, and Final Fantasy used that a lot in their older games. The kind of 8-bit synth chiptune strings that they use. Again, it's just really crazy to hear. This is a part that I was looking forward to from the other version that I heard, because I love this part of the song. It's one of my favorite parts of that other version of the song that I listened to, and I think it's even better here, just in this kind of, again, sound font style. I do love chiptune music, I always have, because I grew up on it for the most part, but it's also just fantastic, the sounds of it that it can make. And this section here, as I said in the Advent Children version, it's like very whimsical and very light. It almost doesn't feel like it fits this song. And also we have the electric guitar part that we had in Advent Children a little later. I'm curious to see what they'll do for this version of the song, because obviously this is the original, but the only version I've heard is the version with that kind of electric guitar breakdown. So I'm curious where the song will go in this version that'll be different from the original. Sorry, from the Advent Children version. Again, I keep doing that. I know this is the original. Anyways, let's keep going. Like horror movie strings almost coming in the side there. Again, even though it's in this kind of sound font style, it's just they're still able to convey such emotion. I mean, there's good reason why this is so impactful and so iconic in video game music terms. I think I've seen some people compare it to like the Imperial March from from Star Wars. Like just such an iconic theme that fits the villain so well. And this definitely does. It definitely feels those gives you that sense of dread and that sense of impending doom. Like you're facing something larger than life and something so grandiose that it's hard to even fathom what you're facing. And it's, again, I haven't even fought Sephiroth yet. I just started playing the game. But still, you can still feel that intensity, even in this version of the song. I mean, especially in this version of the song. Not only do we have the fantastic layered vocals, like whoever did the vocals for this version of the song did an incredible job singing like the Latin part. The female singers and the male singers just absolutely killed it. But this just keeps getting more and more intense and insane as we go. Oh yeah, I also wanted to mention the way that the drums kick up as this kind of builds with the layered vocals, and then the drums kick up and start going a little bit faster tempo, and just it keeps getting more and more intense. And in the left ear, you can also hear just like this greater intensity growing more and more, like with the strings, like they get more intense and more deep. It's really interesting. It's such a fantastic main theme. Like it's interesting to think about how crazy it is that people like Koji Kondo and Nobuo Uematsu created such iconic and amazing themes back in the day using such primitive kind of technology compared to what we have today. And each and every one of them just stands on their own as such iconic and beautiful songs, and there's just nothing else like it. I mean, song games these days have good music. There's a lot of great songs from newer games, of course. I mean, that's most of my channel, but they almost all have their origins in songs like this, and just the intensity and how crazy they were made. And think about it, if you were the one who was creating this back in the day, you didn't know how Final Fantasy VII would take off. You didn't know how well it would be perceived. You didn't know anything about it. You were just making a song for your job. And like they just did such a phenomenal job. Like every Final Fantasy game has such iconic and interesting music, just like every Nintendo game back in the day did and stuff. And it's just like the fact that they had no idea how it would be perceived and stuff, and they had such limited technology, but yet they created masterpieces like this. Like it's just mind blowing how this was done with such limited technology, and without the use of the internet, without the use of like so many tools we use today, they still made such a masterpiece like this. See, I think this is around the part where we had the kind of electric guitar section before in the other version of the song. And again, I said when I listened to the Advent Children version that it felt very disjointed. It didn't feel like it fit the song. It wasn't very cohesive in the way that it was implemented. It just kind of felt like it was in there for no reason. Although, again, if I watch the movie, it's very possible that the crazy guitar section is there for a part in the movie, and they did it for it that specifically. But here, because this is the original version of the song, it's so much more cohesive. Instead of building into the guitar part, it built back into kind of the main theme, and it just hit so much harder. And now we're going into like an adjusted form of the next bar, where we have this drum beat in the left ear, and it just keeps changing up and it's a lot more diverse, and it's again cohesive as a song. It fits so much better, and it makes so much more sense as it's composed. Like the arrangement makes more sense than the other version did. I mean, it just felt like they shoehorned in kind of this electric guitar section in the song that didn't really fit all that well. Whereas this feels a lot more cohesive. It has the reprise of the main theme and builds into a new section entirely. I just absolutely love this whole section. I mean, this is the second time we've heard it in this version of the song. I think in the other version we only got it once, but it's so good. Like, because it's so whimsical and so out of character almost. Like, it almost shows a different side to Sephiroth as a character and as a person that's a little more light, a little more silly, a little more whimsical again. And like, it has this huge like showstopper moment. It's like the type of thing you'd hear on Broadway play, like ba 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 ba. And then now it goes into this next section, which is almost like, it's again very light and whimsical, very mysterious. It's like fairies traveling around a forest. Like, that's the vibe of this part, is like a mystical forest or something like that, something very mystical and eerie and like inhuman somewhat. And that again could lend itself to Sephiroth as a person or as a character or something. It's just really interesting how different this is from the rest of the song. Nice. And those horror movie strings are back. Oh, the structure of this is just so fantastic. There's just something about when a song is like cohesive, when the way that the song flows into the next part of the song is very consistent and it makes sense. It's something your brain kind of accepts as how it should continue. Like, after the end of the last section, again very whimsical, is building, and I was hoping it would kind of flow into this section of the song again, and it did. I mean, just the structure of the song, it makes sense in your mind kind of thing, and it works really, really well. It harmonizes incredibly well with just how the way you expect it to go, and it hits all the right notes. It keeps continuing to grow and be more diverse and being more intense. Again, the horror movie strings coming in, it's just showing all these different avenues and all these different like components of Sephiroth as a character, and also the situation you're in fighting him and stuff. So nice. It just kind of slowly fades away. And it would have looped probably. I would assume if you're fighting him in the game, it would just loop and you just hear it again and again. But I could only imagine how intense this would have been like in the late 90s, playing this game for the first time and coming across Sephiroth and, well, fighting. I mean, it's not like it's just a random encounter. I'm sure it was a huge build to get to this point in the game, and then when you finally hear it, it's unlike anything else. I mean, again, I've known about Final Fantasy VII pretty much my whole life, well, since it came out, just because of how iconic it is as a game and how iconic the music is as well. But I've just never played it. Again, I had so many other games to play, and I just never got into 7 for some reason. And as time gone on, I've always been meaning to, and then once the remakes were announced, I was like, hey, I'll play the remakes. But you guys convinced me I'm going to play Final Fantasy VII, the original version, first. And like I said, I'll be doing it on my other channel if you'd like to check that out. But this version, I can see why so many of you were saying that this is the best version, this is what I should have started with. And in some ways, I kind of regret starting with the other version, because although it does seem to be more popular in some circles, sometimes you have to go back and experience the original and just how different it is, how unique it is on its own. And this certainly was that. Like, I would say that this version is the better version. Like, for me personally, I prefer the original, this version that I just listened to, over the Advent Children version, because this version is just so much more consistent, as I said. And what they were able to do with, again, PlayStation 1 sound font, it's unbelievable. Like, this kind of thing is not what you hear typically in older video games. There's just such a diversity to the arrangement of the song, and coming in with the layered vocals of the different kind of choir-like singers that are just so fantastic, and all the different instruments that were emulated in this kind of 8-bit sound font style, they just all work so fantastically well alongside the, again, choir-like singing. And again, the structure of the song makes so much more sense in the original version, where the beats of the song just, it all makes sense. You flow from one section that's really intense, and then you go to that kind of whimsical section, then you build back into the really intense, crazy, like the drums get more intense and the strings start like a horror movie, and then they become like a siren or something like that. Like, it's just really intense, and the intensity builds, and it kind of plateaus a little bit, and then builds back up and gets more intense, and then it plateaus. Like, there's such a huge difference in the different parts of the song. Like, it's such a diverse and interesting song, and again, it definitely deserves the praise that it receives. It deserves to be one of the most iconic songs in video games, even for someone like me who hasn't played the game yet. I don't know the context around it 100%. I mean, obviously I played a lot of JRPGs, I know, big bad guy kind of thing, gotta take him out, end of the world kind of thing probably. But I guess I'll find out. And yeah, I'm excited to play the game on my own and get to experience the whole story. But anyways, thanks for hanging out, watching my reaction. If you liked it, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Until next time, later days, folks.